Now, I'm really, really happy to have our guest speaker come up here in a few moments. Jeff Ronning is probably one of the best outsourcers and a very, very successful internet marketer. He just celebrated his 15th year anniversary, and I was listening to one of your podcasts, and you were explaining that, and like 15 years ago, you got married in your backyard, you got sandwiches at Costco for this little party, and here on your 15th year anniversary, you chartered a boat in the Caribbean, and it was for 2 or 3 weeks?
7 nights.
All right, 7.5. So, you know, you can see the big difference. And all this was made possible through the power of internet marketing, a very successful internet marketing. The reason he's done such a great job is through outsourcing. All right, so those of you that want to learn how to take your business to the next level, I can't think of a better gentleman than this to do that, Jeff Ron. Let me give you
Good. All right, welcome. It was cool to hear Roy kind of get a feel where you guys were. It was cool to kind of hear the things you were interested in learning, and I think you guys want to. I think you guys have a good mix of things that you want to learn about outsourcing, and so I'm excited to be here tonight. But I'm kind of sad also because the stuff that you guys wanted to learn isn't going to be taught tonight. It's actually going to be taught in the paid class, which is next week. So, just kidding, guys. Just kidding. We're going to get to all your good stuff. So, anyhow, my name is Jeff Ronning. I moved to Arizona about 9 years ago from Seattle, from Washington. Lived a number of different places around the country, and welcome.
I'm sorry.
That's okay. That's okay. We just sent
I gotta sit there in front now.
You can ask those people. We just sent a big donation. We just yeah. We saved this seat right down here for you. This one, yeah.
There's somebody sitting
Okay,
there.
you can sit there. So anyhow, listen. Here's a nice little picture of me at Disneyland with my wife, Riddick. And we used to go down there quite frequently. And I remember one trip that I was down there. And looking forward to a terrific week of fun, relaxation. Claudia, thank you for the email. And during that week, I had multiple outsourcers drop out. So here I was looking for a nice vacation with my family, spending time with my son, my wife, and here I am having to like do that thing, but at the same time also take care of my business. I've been trying to outsource for umpteen years. Had a lot of failure. I've studied all kinds of outsourcing stuff. None of it's worked for me. I'm not saying it won't work for you. I'm just saying for me, for what I do, it didn't work. But finally, I started to figure some things out. And that takes us to a vacation that was basically a piece of garbage, where I was working, split my time between my son, my wife. On that same trip, I actually sliced my finger open, opening up my kid's toy. I'm not very good with tools either, you know, so it was just an all-around terrible trip. But this was a trip I just got back from on Monday. And this was down in the Caribbean. We did snorkeling, had a private chef, had a 5-person crew, went to all kinds of beaches, went to all kinds of different places. There's a bar in that picture. It's kind of hard to see in this, but the bar is a very bizarre bar. It's a very cool bar. It's a very eclectic bar, but you'll never guess what they've got in there.
Alcohol.
Alcohol? You are right. But they also have something else. They also have a monkey. They don't just have one monkey, they have 2 monkeys. Now this monkey actually jumped on my son before he saw it. Freaked him out a little bit.
Yeah.
But it's not just that they have 2 monkeys, but one of the monkey is actually a smoker. What the heck's up with that? So that's what I just got back from on Monday, and there's 2 points. One, Roy already made for me. I'm a lot more successful than I was in the past because I have figured out outsourcing. And number 2, even if you don't smoke, make sure you take some cigarettes with you into bars because they might have smoking monkeys. So you want to make sure you see that. When I talk to people about outsourcing, most people are frustrated with it. Most people have tried it. Most people spend a lot of time, a lot of energy, a lot of effort into making it work. Most are disappointed what happens with the outsourcing. Most find the investment a total waste of time, and they're continually finding new people. This is the experience for most people. Has anybody in here that has outsourced experienced any of those things? Cool. Not cool, but you know what I mean. So yeah, you look like this, only your hair might not be black, right, Claudia? Yes. But yeah, most people are very, very upset. So most people find it, a pain. They find it an expense to invest in individuals to outsource to, and they almost find it inconsequential because they don't realize the importance. They realize the general theory of, oh, well, I need to get someone else to do the work for me, or I need to, in order to leverage myself, but they don't really realize the full importance of it. But for smart businesses, and obviously you guys are all smart, or you wouldn't be here tonight, you'd be somewhere else. Smart businesses realize it's a profit generator. And what I did is I went to a place called Mandasoft, and I pulled up some numbers. So the top 25 tech companies by employee. Number one surprised me. It was a company called SanDisk. They make like media, and their number is $374,788 per employee. So every time they hire somebody, that's what they're making. Google, $321,000, not bad. So smart businesses know that outsourcers are a profit generator. They also know that it provides freedom. It's mandatory for a properly run business so that you can get away, so you can do other things, so you can invest your time, your energy, your effort into building your business. And it's the only way, really, to build that business because you've got to leverage yourself. So I'm going to talk to you right now about what I've learned about outsourcing. For those of you that aren't aware of me, I've been around quite a while. I started out as a stage hypnotist as a kid. I wasn't into basketball or like baseball. I was into the power of the mind. So I was reading books like Think and Grow Rich and things like that. Got in trouble in 6th grade for hypnotizing some kids at camp. Got in trouble that same year for hypnotizing some boys in the bathroom, which sounds really bizarre, when you say that as an adult, but it wasn't that weird. Ended up having a really successful stage hypnosis career. So successful that a lot of people came to me to learn how to be successful themselves. So that created this whole spin-off business, coaching, product, training, all that sort of stuff. I'm also, so I'm known for Stage Hypnosis Center. Got the best-selling book on Amazon on that, usually. Sometimes it's the second best. And I'm known for Stealth Seminar, Online Meeting Now, and some other products that are pretty popular with the internet marketing group. Appeared on a number of different TV, radio shows, publications, things like that. And as you've already seen, this is my family, Wendy, Riddick, and me. So let's talk about how you can find quality workers. This is probably going to be something that you want to take notes at, because I don't have any notes to give you. Although I'm very happy if you want to go get my notes, which are on my website, which cost you way less than they should. So feel free to take notes, and thank you. So, finding quality workers. For those of you that have tried in the past to outsource, you probably have experienced the same thing I have, which it seems like good people hide if they're alive. They may not even be alive. I've used outsourcing sites. I've used Craigslist. I've used newspaper classifieds. I've used outsourced companies. I've used online sites for like local areas. And I've hired from all those in the past. And when I did, I got less people. But it wasn't necessarily that the people were bad there. It was that I didn't know what I was doing. It doesn't always come down to that. It's like, you know, I can't believe how stupid I was 2 weeks ago. It's just like, but now that I know what I'm doing, I'm able to go in, I'm able to hire people, and with a very, very, very high degree of accuracy, predict how successful they will be. And that's what I'm going to teach you to do tonight. Now, I noticed that you guys had an array of different things, so I'll take all kinds of questions. And in fact, if you even want to do anything like look for some of these people tonight, I'm happy to do that with you as well. So, there's always going to be exceptions to the rules, and we can talk about specifics when we get into the question. But here is where I find the absolute best people now that I know how to hire them. I find the best people at Elance, Odesk, and Freelancer. Very popular sites. So it's not the sites, it's the process. It's knowing how you hire people. Now the reason I go to all three of those sites is because each one has a stronger emphasis in particular areas. So for instance, let's say that I want somebody that's long-term, and when I say quality important, what that means is it means the quality is important and it's hard for me to determine the quality, okay? So if I'm looking for somebody that's long-term, where the quality needs to be important and it's hard for me to determine that, and it's going to be support, customer service, writers, or programming, then I'm going to go to Elance. If it's going to be a shorter term person, and when I say quality negligible, what I mean is that I can identify the quality of that. See, programming, I can't, I mean, I could try it, I could try and see if it works, but I can look at a graphic and go right away, oh, that's crap, right? So, shorter term, I would go to Odesk, and that would be for graphics and transcription. It doesn't mean that these aren't important, it just means it's easy for me to identify, hey, this transcription isn't acceptable, or this graphic isn't acceptable, okay? And then for software and for programming, Freelancer is the best that I have found. However, most of the people are from overseas, so you got to make sure that the communication is there before you start hiring them. So, if it's a quick, simple, easy thing that I can identify if the quality is good or not, I'll just go to Odesk to get it done. If it's a longer term thing, I go to Elance, and if it's programming, I'll typically go to Freelancer. Okay, so those are the sites I use, but what I use isn't so important as the process that I go through to find these people. And the reason I would go through this, in case you don't know, Odesk is mostly outside of the United States. Those are individuals that would be from outside the country, and the prices will be a lot less, typically. So Freelancer, they kind of do their own thing, and Elance will be a lot more expensive than Odesk, but if it's a longer term investment, then obviously that's where I want to be. So let's go through the Grow Profit Fast process. With this process, it lets you attract the right people, it lets you repel the wrong people. See, I was doing it in reverse. See, I used to do it the old-fashioned way, is I would repel the right people and I would attract all the wrong people. It didn't really work out that great. It lets me attract motivated individuals. It lets me attract growth-oriented individuals. And the advertisement itself is always vague with some of the specific details. So, We're always going to utilize the private message. Is there anybody in here who hasn't used like an Elance Odesk, or is there anybody in here that hasn't used one of those? Okay, a couple people. So this is a site, think of it like a job board. You can post projects up there. I could say like I want a transcription, or I need something built, or I need a graphic for this, and then different people will bid on it. And those people will bid on it, give me a price, and then I'm also able to see their history. So I'm able to see how much work they've done in the past, who they've worked with, what those people that they've worked with have left them a grade, like on eBay. You know how eBay has a history. I'm able to look at where they're from, all those good things. So using these sites allows you to post your job. People will apply, or you can invite specific people, and then you evaluate those people based on different factors. One of the things you can utilize on those sites is something called a private message board. That means they'll enter into a private conversation with you, and you can go back and forth with them. What I like to use that private message board for is I'm looking for their promptness. I'm evaluating their language skills, their professionalism, and their attention to detail. And the reason these things are real important is because everything revolves around getting the right people. Because once you get the right people, your life is so much better. And until you do, then you've got this constant sort of hamster wheel where you're continually dealing with people who frustrate you and who drive you crazy. And to put it in perspective, for those of you that have not done a lot of outsourcing in the past, when I was not very good at it, I would have, and even today, because nothing's 100%, but you'll get people who will apply to the job, they'll lie their ass off. The first day they're supposed to show up, they'll be late, or they won't show up, or their computer was stolen, or their mom died, or, I mean, we're not, when you're talking about a worldwide group of people you're hiring from, you know, the vast majority of them, and I don't mean this in any judgmental way, but the vast majority of them are total idiots who can't get a regular job. So maybe it does come across as judgmental. So your job is to not hire those people, because those people will then obviously impact your life. Yes?
And this maybe you're going to answer later, but
I doubt it.
Is that have to do with Americans, or does it have to do with...
Does it have to do with Americans, or does it have to do with overseas? It has to do with everyone. Americans could be worse than overseas. Americans could be worse.
Well,
yes.
I mean, I'm always afraid of hiring somebody from India, number one, because of the time difference, and number two, I mean, it's just seems so far away.
Well, what I like to do when I hire somebody, like on the very first day, what I like to do is fly to where they live. I'm just kidding. No, you're right. That is far away. But you know what? You will feel better. You will feel better about hiring them, because distance is irrelevant. If you get the right person, the distance is irrelevant. So let's talk about this. We know we're going to use Odesk, Freelancer, or Elance. We know we're going to use the private message board, and what we're going to do is attract the right people, repel the wrong. So here is the advertisement I use for all my jobs right now. I changed it slightly based on my needs. We are a new company that is growing massively. We are looking for a person that has experience with, name a skill, whatever it is. Anybody name anything we can play with.
Content writing.
Content writing. We're looking for somebody that has experience with content. The prime person is prompt, professional, and has a great attitude. This is a long-term position. The right person who excels at this job will receive regular wage increases and bonuses. We are interested in a long-term person for this position. No flakes allowed. Job duties. You are going to write content. How many pieces?
Weekly.
How many words?
Oh.
500.
Huh?
500, yeah.
Okay, you're going to write one article, 500 words. This has to be original content. It has to pass any copyscape. It has to be written for, you know, if it's going to be written for SEO, then I'm going to put that in there. If it's going to be written for an actual honest-to-God person to read, I'm going to put that in there. You know, additional tasks. You will also upload this to my WordPress blog. It has to be loaded and done on a weekly basis. Yes?
Can I see the last slide one more time, please? Thank you.
So, you want me to read it or just be quiet? Okay. You know, it's so nice to be here tonight at this meetup. Thank you, Roy.
Hypnotize someone.
So, no flakes allowed, guarantee you. That alone will, like, shut down the vast majority of those people that are going to waste your time.
Because they're going to say, yeah, I'm a flake.
I'm a flake. They're going to identify themselves.
My job applications always say, hey, I want to hold your hand for 4 hours to get you to do a 1-hour job.
Yes, yes. So I would put exactly what I want there. Requirements: flawless English, responsive, internet savvy, knowledgeable about content writing, knowledge about putting content into WordPress, reliable high-speed internet, professional demeanor, committed to growth, enthusiastic, self-motivated. Okay? Let you guys take pictures of that and back away.
I can't type that fast.
All right, I see no more cameras up. When applying for the position, include the following. I would put 4 samples of some of your writing that would be appropriate for this job. Sample to some of the WordPress blogs that you've uploaded content to. Then I'd drop off number 3. I'd just say that. In applying, in the first sentence, put the word boxing, or whatever your keyword's going to be. Justin Bieber, or whatever. Thanks for reading. So, it's a very different job application project that I used to use. It almost feels, I think one of the reasons it works so well is because it feels almost like a real job, right? Like it's very much a much more corporate sort of feel. And when you sign up for these sites, by the way, you know, don't ever use your own names. So don't use like Claudia on it's not that you're going to be deceiving people, but later on when you become a huge success, you don't want your competition to like type in Claudia at Sewing University and see all your jobs on Elance. Okay? So it's perfectly appropriate. You're not doing anything against any of their terms of use. Just come up with, you know, some sort of alias. Obviously, you'll use your real name in applying the details in the Elance or the Odesk or whatever, but you can have any company name you want, any organization name. So, you know, choose something that is appropriate, and don't have it tie back to yourself. So, what's going to happen is people are going to come. They're going to read this, and all my accounts with these organizations do have something real, you know, just kind of innocuous, like just something that sounds like a big organization, and indeed, I guess we are kind of bigger now. So you're going to have people apply to this job. When people apply to the job, hopefully you've eliminated most of the flakes, but some of them are going to sneak through because they're going to think they're smarter than you. So what you're going to do is you're going to get various people. You're going to get some people that literally are not even going to read your ad. They're just going to spam you. And what I mean by that is they've got like a cut and paste or some sort of automated system, so it's going to be like, I've read your job requirement and I am the perfect person for you to hire for this. When I do work on the internet, I use a HQP15, and you're like, what the hell is... Delete all those people, right? The other people you're going to get, if it's not a spam, then what we're going to do is we're going to evaluate them, and we're going to evaluate them with something I call POPPIES. So POPPIES stand for What does POPPIES stand for? I came up with it and it was really cool. Predictable outsourcers, outsourcers, predictable indicators. Powerful outsourcers, predictors, indicators, okay? Because these 10 POPPIES are going to tell me exactly how well this person's going to do, okay? So here is what I'm going to do with everybody that applies. Something I call ATD, attention to detail. First off, if that keyword isn't in that first sentence, then there's different ways. You can either just delete the app, you can hide it, you can, whatever you want to do, but the key is you're going to eliminate them. You're going to eliminate them. So if they don't have the keyword, whatever it is, and make it something that's, you know, make it like whatever your interest is, and make it something, you know, so it stands out, pops out to you. Because a lot of these people, you know, when they're applying for jobs, they're applying for probably like 100 in an hour. They're not reading them. And you'll know that right away. Even if they get through that first thing where you're reading it, it looks like it might not be spam. If they don't put their keywords, they don't put cat in that first sentence, they're gone. The second thing is, I'm looking only for people that are possible full-time. Now you say, but Jeff, I don't have a need for full-time right now. If they can't work for you full-time, they're going to eventually either quit working online or they're going to work for someone else full-time. And if you get someone good, which you will, now that you're here at Radar Roy's event, you'll make money on them. Remember how much, what was it, SanDisk was making? Like $300,000 a year. So when you say, hey, I don't have enough work for someone full-time, you'll be able to find the work that you need them to do, because what they do will make you money. So the more they work for you, the more money you will make. So anybody that's part-time, I eliminate them. It's just not worth it. I only want to use independent people. See, there's predominantly two different groups that are doing outsourcing. One is independent, it's like me, you. And then there's another group, which are agencies. These agencies have tons of people. I only want to deal with independents. I remember some years back, you know, when Tim Ferriss's book first came out, The 4-Hour Work Week. And I remember I was reading it, and I'm like, oh, here's the company he uses. And I can't remember what the company was. That's probably it. And, but I wasn't going to say it, you know, but that's okay. So I didn't pick it up. So what do? I immediately hire them, and what do? They immediately flake out. Just like other agencies that I've hired in the past. So now I just avoid them. I don't want anything to do with them. I want to hire individuals. I want to hire independent individuals. I want to make sure that they have an English rating of at least 4. The English rating is something they give themselves. So if someone gives themselves a 3, it's bad. And I want to make sure, because remember, on these sites, you can see their past history. If they don't have at least either 30 projects or 500 plus hours, then I delete them. They're not even, they don't make it onto the next phase of this hiring. So you guys all got that? Yes.
Should I tell them we're recording this?
So the 30 projects, is that your opinion?
No, that's not an opinion. On the project on the hours, what the site will do is it will count up the number of, like every time I work, it will record that I worked. There's different ways to work. I could work like a project, like maybe if I'm just going to create or do certain tasks, it might be a project, or I could work hourly. So I could be working one project, but the hours could be 10,000 hours. And so that's something that is on there, just like on eBay. On eBay, it shows you the number of transactions someone's done. So 30 projects or 500 hours. The sixth thing is they have to have at least a 4.5 rating This rating comes from their clients, their customers that they have done business with on that system. If it's less than 4.5, forget about it.
Out of 5?
Out of 5, yeah. Yeah. They have to have fewer than 20% of canceled jobs. So let's say that someone has been hired 100 times, but there's been 25 canceled jobs. I don't care why. It's a bad indication. They're probably going to be trouble for you. So if it exceeds 20% of their jobs canceled, we delete them. We eliminate them. So a canceled job represents any project. Some typical reasons that a job could be canceled: maybe the client changes his mind, maybe the need changes, but more likely it's because that outsourcer couldn't deliver, or that outsourcer got flaky, or because that outsourcer disappeared. And so once that happens on these sites, you can't, as the person that hired them, go in and say this happened. You can't do that. All you can do is cancel the job. I also don't want anybody that has more than 35% of their jobs without reviews. Because if they're not getting reviews, same deal. It's probably an indication, a huge one, red flag, that there's a big problem. And the reason that person didn't get left a review is because they didn't want to be on the end of retaliatory reviews. See, if I hire somebody, they do a crummy job for me, but I just say, screw it, I'm going to pay you anyhow because, you know, whatever reason, you worked hard, but you didn't know what the hell you were doing. I'm throwing away your work, but here's $100 or whatever. I'm not going to leave that person a review, because all that person will do is come back and like attack me. So 35% or more without reviews, I don't hire them. Yes?
Are these two things, are those something that are automatically calculated? Because I've never seen
Yes,
that before.
they are calculated.
Okay.
And we could even show it if we want by going to Elance.
You have to dig a little deeper to find that. Because I usually see like the rating and...
Do you have an Elance account?
Yeah.
Okay, why don't you log in and then we'll pop it in here if it's okay with Roy. Later, we'll do it later. I like, but this is not mandatory, a repeat clientele of 25%. And if they make it through that gauntlet, what I'll then do is take their username or their real name if I have it, because now I've got them in a private message board, and I will type it into Google, or I'll type it into some of the other outsourcing sites, or I'll type it into Facebook or Tumblr. So if I see anything weird, and by weird what I mean is someone acting like a jackass basically on some social media sites or anything like that, or if I find, let's say I'm hiring somebody and their username is VVV1, and then, but I find VVVV1. Well, then it's very likely it's the same person, and it's very easy to look at their picture or the image or what they're using for a picture or where they're located and say, okay, this is the same guy. Now this guy has kind of a halfway decent profile. This guy, he's got a trashy profile. So he obviously worked predominantly with this one until he could no longer work, then restarted a new one. So that's why you want to be aware of all this. So these are the predictors of the outsourcers, and all of these, there's 10 of them, will predict exactly how well your person will do. The more these they pass, they go through, the better job they'll do. This, I always like to see, it's not mandatory, because what I'm looking for are people. Now obviously if it was a $25 job for graphics, I'm not going to go through this. This is really more for higher end positions or people that are going to be with me forever. So like your writer, I wouldn't hire, if I was just going to get 2 articles, I wouldn't worry about doing this. But if this is someone I want long-term to work for me for 6 months, a year, or 2 years, then I'm going to do this. Because otherwise you'll end up hiring writer after writer after writer after writer. So after they make it through that, then your outsourcer is revealed. You're going to open up the private message board, And you're going to communicate with them and just say, hey, thanks much, looked interesting. And when I interview, and by the way, I call this the interview, although most people wouldn't think it's the interview, because it's the private message board. People are used to, like, an interview being an event. But I find you can actually learn a lot more about someone if you start the interview during the private message board. So I call it the successful interview, but the outsourced person doesn't even really know that the interview is going on. So we do it via the private message board. I ask open-ended questions, you know, tell me about yourself, you know, what attracts you to this job, what have you done in the past? And one of the reasons I ask open-ended questions is because I want to uncover other skills. Maybe that person will be like, oh, well, not only did I write for this site and this site and this site, but I also learned whatever, CSS or HTML or something like that. So I'll be able to say, oh, okay, so you can also do some web work, you know. As a general rule, I will never, ever, ever post a job looking for someone that has multiple skills. But if I can uncover something that's already in someone's past, then I'll do it. So what I mean by that is I will never post a job where I want someone to be a writer, I want someone to also be support, I want someone to also do SEO, and I want someone to control my social media. One thing. That's all we're ever going to do. And when you start using the POPPIES, what you'll realize is that even just looking for one person that fulfills all those criteria for the POPPIES can be kind of difficult sometimes. So during the interview, I'm also going to uncover their motivations. Hey, so what, you know, what's going on? Why do you want this job? So I'm trying to figure out, you know, like, are you just going to graduate from school in a month and be gone? Or are you supporting the household? You know? Because obviously I only look for people that are long term. I learned this a long, long time ago. In my stage hypnosis business, what I realized is that I could either book a show or I could build a business. So a lot of people run around and they book a show. Right? And they go and they do this show and they do this show and they do this show, and I realized that no, that's a total waste of time. I don't want to book it. What I want to do is build a business. So when I was building a business, I'm looking for people that can at least give me X amount of dollars or X amount of shows over a career. So I'm not looking for, you know, a show at, say, like a corporate event. I'm looking for a corporation that I know I can work with for the next 14 years or whatever it is. Same way with your outsourcing. So always looking for the long-term positions and making sure you're getting people that you understand their long-term goals. Hey, I'm looking to move to create a better life for my family. Things are really bad here, and we need to, you know, I really want to move to a different area where it's safer for my children. So you're going to post that job. You're going to customize it a little bit based on your needs. You're only going to ask, preferably, for one skill. That's all I ever ask for. Sometimes people go, I'll also try for this. But it's really hard to find people with two skills that are going to all fly through the poppy. So you post that, people apply. You immediately disregard anybody who doesn't give you a personalized reply. If it's a spam reply or you know, a templated thing, you get rid of it. Then you start going through the POPPIES. Anybody that doesn't fit, you get rid of it. Those that do, you take them to the private message board, and then you'll eventually come down to one or two of them that will make it. And those one or two of them you'll hire. It was really funny. A couple weeks ago, this guy told me, he said, okay, well, I got these two people I want to hire. And so I said, great. I said, you know, just hire them both, and then, you know, just tell them, hey, here's what's going on, and one of you is going to, I don't mean this in a mean way, but I mean, and I'm never mean, and I never am disrespectful to the people, but I mean, essentially, just to make it brief, I said, just hire them both and tell them you only got enough work for one of them, and you're going to use who's ever best. Well, one of them kind of disappeared for a day. And I said, don't even use him. Like, don't even consider it. And if you're going to consider it, he better damn well give you a verifiable reason why he disappeared for a day. Now, this was not when he was hired. This was before he was hired. But even that sort of thing, it's an indication of what's going to happen. So the guy gets back to me, and he said, okay, well, he said his internet went down. Forget him. And he goes, well, you know, and I said, forget him or make it verifiable by you that indeed it did. So I went back to the guy, and he said, okay, send me a link to somewhere in the media where your internet went down in your geographic area. Well, lo and behold, the guy did. And his internet was actually down for that day. So that sort of thing, you know, you want to know right at the beginning if these people are going to be trouble. Now, since it was verified, obviously, we go ahead and hire him, and he's done great. But if he couldn't have sent that, forget about him. So, at that point in time, you're going to make the job offer. And so I'm going to make the job offer. A lot of people talk to people when they outsource. I know I don't even talk to anybody anymore because remember, the interview is happening on the private message board. They didn't even know the interview is going on yet. They assume at some point in time we're going to get on Skype, but that doesn't happen with me. It would if I were hiring a phone person, but so what I'm going to provide for long term is above average wage for their cost of living. So people say, okay, well, you know, you can go and you can hire somebody really super cheap and get all this stuff done, which is true, but I usually think of it just the opposite. What I want to do is I want to hire somebody that lives in a really inexpensive cost of living place, and then I want to pay them buku bucks so they're making more than the guy that's like the banking executive. Because their banking executive pay is so much lower than what you and I are accustomed to that you can easily do that. You can afford that. So I'm not trying to stretch them and I'll give you some dollar figures in a little bit, but I'm not trying to in any way, you know, take advantage of them. In fact, it's just the opposite. I've got a podcast on my site somewhere that it's called Outsource to Make Others Rich, Not Yourself. Now, that doesn't mean like I'm this great, wonderful, it just means, you know what, you know, when you make other people wealthy, you're going to make yourself wealthy because they're working for you. So I'm going to offer above average pay. I'll talk to you about pay in a minute. I'm going to tell them that they're going to get paid holidays. They're going to be our New Year's, Thanksgiving, and Christmas. You know, it doesn't matter where they are around the world. I'm going to give them 5 sick days after the probation period. They're going to get unlimited non-pay days off arranged with the manager after the probation period. So I really don't care how much time they take off as long as it's arranged. And then I'm also going to give them financial bonuses after the probation period. So when I make the job offer, I'm going to be very clear with them. It's going to be a 2-week trial, but I would never hire anybody unless I was certain they were going to make it through that. Then it's going to be a 4-week trial. Then it's going to be a 3-month probation period. Then it's going to be 6 months, and then they're going to get the full benefits. Now, typically, at every one of these periods, I'm going to give them a little bit of a raise. So let's talk some money. Money. I have found for myself, and you know, and everybody's a little different. I have found for myself that it's easier for me to find people who will work harder and do more and be more professional outside of North America than it is to find inside North America. I could hire, in my experience, what I know is I could hire somebody, or maybe I should say I have hired people for like 25 bucks an hour in the US who have done a sliver of work compared to a person that I've paid $3 an hour to. I personally, if I don't have a personal reference from someone in North America now for somebody, I don't even consider them. I mean, it's sad but that's just my experience. So most of the people are going to be from outside North America. It doesn't mean, you know, I've hired tons of people in North America, but they're all flakes, or they all disappear, or they're all also collecting this, and they can't go above a certain dollar amount, or they quit getting this, you know, whatever. It's nuts. So, cost of living. How do we determine that? Here's how I determine it. If I'm dealing with somebody from, name a country, name a city, you can go into cost of living and type that into Google, and it'll pull up and it'll show you. It'll show you cost of living, and it'll show you average income. So, you go to some of these countries, like I was just in the Caribbean, okay? So like, just for my, I wasn't hiring anybody, but just for my own information, I looked there to see what the average income was. Per year, it's $9,000. So let's use that number. So if I was really applying some, first, average income is $9,000. I don't want to hire anybody under that. I want to pay them more. So I'm going to say like, okay, let's make it like 10, 12. Okay, well that's $1,000 a month. That's $250 a week. Now, my math is too sucky to do what that is by 40 hours, but it's not much, okay? But what I know is, if someone passes the POPPIES, if they happen to live in the Caribbean, and I'm paying them $12,000 a year, oh, they're like the king on the hill. They're like, they got the best drugs, all the like, people are trying to come to that, you know, it's like they're the rock star, right? So that's what I'm looking to do. That's what I'm looking to do. So if it was somewhere else, if it was somewhere in Russia, I'm going to do that. If it was in China, I'm going to do that. I'm going to look at what that average income is, then I'm going to go above it. Then I'm going to make that the dollar figure. So let's say the 9,000, you've got a computer there. What's 250 divided by, 250 divided, 625. So during the 2-week trial, what I would say is, I'm going to pay you $3 an hour. We make it through this, I'm going to give you $1 an hour raise. Make it through this, I'm going to give you $1 an hour raise, or a 50-cent raise. We make it through this, then I'm going to take it up to like $5 an hour. To make it through this, I'm going to give you $6 an hour. So I put these trials in basically so they feel good about everything. They feel good about working for me, and they've also got almost some immediate gratification there, right? Because I'm setting the expectation they can make more money, and then I'm actually delivering on it. I'm giving them more money. Because obviously, if I'm not giving them more money, then I'm firing them, right? And you're probably not going to fire them if you've gone through the 10 POPPIES. So what I would encourage you guys to do is, if you, sometimes people are on the internet and they're like, oh, you know, you can get people from this country or that country and you can hire them for $1 an hour and they'll do anything, you know, they'll kill for you. You can turn them into a hitman and they'll run drugs from Mexico. Oh, but I would encourage you to think just the opposite. You know, don't think about that. Think about, how can I help them improve their lives? Because that's really what you're doing. Because think about it. If you took that person from the Caribbean and in 6 months he's making as much as an executive, he's moving, his family has a better life, he loves you, he is like the king of the community, and I mean, it's good stuff. So I'm never looking to pay low, I'm always looking to pay high. And let's face it, if you can't afford to pay somebody $1,000 a month, then obviously you need to look at your business, because you know, there's almost nobody you can hire for $1,000 a month and make a boatload of money yourself. So we get that person rolling. Inside Odesk and inside Elance, they have a way to track the hours. You'll always work with those ways. So what happens is, when someone's going to work for you, they're going to like log into their Elance, they're going to go through something that says work view, and so Elance is going to track how many hours they worked. It's going to start, You know, the time's going to start when they log in, and then Elance is going to snap pictures of their computer intermittently. I know it seems terrible, but they snap pictures. And so if you ever get the desire, and usually my desire is maybe like 2 to 3 times when I first hire somebody, the first couple of weeks, I'll log in and I'll look over some of those pictures and make sure that the guy's not sitting there on Facebook dicking around. So you'll be able to see, no, this person was actually in Word, or this person was in my WordPress, or this person was, and all that stuff. So at the end of the week, Elance and Odesk will send you the hours they worked, and then they will automatically pay the person for you. So that's how you, that's the site you use, that's how you put your advertisement, that's how you determine the criteria, and that's how you hire somebody. Let's talk real quickly about when to fire somebody. Fast and frequent. Now, if they've made it through the POPPIES, you're probably not going to have to. But fast and frequent, the 2 F's, you fire them fast and frequent. Here's what I would do. If they don't use WorkView, remember I just told you that WorkView is a program that Elance has. Work Diary is a program that Odesk has. If they don't use that, and if it's for longer than a few hours a month, you get rid of them. The last person that burnt me on this was an American. And I mean, this guy was such a piece of crap. I mean, he had the full story, like he was a veteran, he was this, he was, you know, it's like you want to do all this stuff good for him, and he just, we were paying him a lot of money, you know. Well, by a lot of money, I mean somewhere around 18 to 20 bucks an hour, and anyhow, as far as I know, the guy never did anything for like 3 weeks, and finally, because he never turned that on. He kept giving me one line of bullshit after another. Oh, well, my computer can't use the WorkView. Oh, Elance says WorkView's down. Oh, blah, 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 blah. And it's like, you know, you just end up getting really abused. So if they don't use that, they're gone. If the internet goes down for them and you cannot verify that it's a geographical issue, dump them. When I say dump them, it sounds harsh. I don't mean it in a harsh way. I just mean don't play games. Because what will happen, like that person in the Caribbean, if they're making that kind of money, they're not going to be satisfied with the regular internet. They, on their own, are going to go get corporate internet. They're going to have the highest speed internet next to, like, you know, Bill Gates' house in, like, Bank of America, you know. So they're going to be professional. And if they don't show up, you got to let them go. There's a big warning I've got for people that hire people, and that is don't get sucked into wanting something to work so bad that you lose your common sense. Remember, like that, I just told you about that guy who was the veteran, and it's like I wanted him to work out so bad, and yet all the signs were there. And a lot of times, you know, all of us, like, we think the best of people, and we don't think that, oh, well, someone might just be an outright con man, but they're out there. So don't let them exploit you for too long. As soon as they wave their hand and wave their little flag and let you know, get rid of them. And if you follow this stuff, then congratulations. I'm not sure that you'll be making $374,000 per person, like SanDisk, but I can guarantee you, you will be extremely successful. And that's really what outsourcing is all about.